Everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. I'm looking forward to talking to Will Nitze. How to pronounce the last name for me? Sorry, I messed it up.
Nitze.
Like yes. Yeah, my apologies. Portia Nitze. All right, good. I like it. It's great to connect with you, founder and CEO of IQBAR. Startup makes delicious vegan and plant-based protein bars and hydration mixes. You sent me a bunch, which I love the bars. The hydration mixes were great. So thank you very much for sending those. I'm looking forward to talking with you. In 2017, IQBAR had the highest grossing food Kickstarter campaign, which brought in 70,000, and you raised 10 million to date. You're now a $30 million company. So I'm looking forward to kind of talking about just everything that you have done to grow your business. As a business coach, I work with people who are successful and stuck. I get them unstuck. As a business owner, what has been your biggest stuck, and how have you gotten unstuck in this journey so far of your company?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten stuck in a million different ways, all the way down to anyone who manufactures anything will tell you that, yeah, we could spend all day on all the stuckness as it relates to manufacturing. But if we take it at a higher level, I would say the biggest thing for me probably is people is the most challenging thing, because there's no objectively right answer there in terms of team building, delegating. When is it right to insource versus outsource? That I would say is I found myself stuck the most, and being stuck there hurts the most and has the biggest implication. So how did I get unstuck? I mean, I would say figure out who the right person is for your organization. If you're a startup, that's probably not someone who would thrive in a big organization. Referrals are incredibly valuable. Certain fundamental skills are incredibly necessary. So, I mean, that's a whole nuanced topic of how to build the right team. But my bent is always less people, more attention, and getting the right people on the ship.
I love it. I think the only thing I'll add to that, and we'll move on to some other stuff, is only hire great, never settle. That's what I talk to my clients a lot about. If your gut tells you, no matter how good everything seems, but if your gut tells you no, wait for great. Because to rewind and to hire the wrong person takes up a lot of time, a lot of energy, and so. But I agree with you. It's all about the people. It's all about the people. Let's talk about you. So you are fascinated with the human brain. You're studying psychology as an undergrad at Harvard in your mid-20s. You're working in the software industry. You begin to have chronic cognitive problems, headaches, brain fog linked to high carb diet. And boom, you decide to start a company. Talk about that journey and kind of how we got to IQBAR.
Yeah, it was a confluence of many things. So I was really interested in the brain because I loved psychology and neuroscience from my college days. I was working in a job I didn't like, wasn't passionate about, got good at, but just, I dreaded Mondays, put it that way. So wasn't really happy where I was really interested in the brain. I had always wanted to start my own thing and be my own boss. And I wanted to own the thing, tip to tail. Like I wanted to be able to make the product myself and sell the product. And so I messed around with some tech products, but ultimately I was like, all right, I'm going to have to outsource the actual creation of the thing. I hate outsourcing, at least at the product stage. And so it was going to be a tangible thing. It was going to be a consumer good product because I knew I could make that. And then I fell in love with food and beverage because I read a book called Mission in a Bottle by the guys who started Honest Tea, and just really loved the category. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to start a drink. And then that kind of morphed into a food because basically I looked at the market and I was like, what's a massive category? Does this concept of brain food exist? That's kind of an interesting idea. And it didn't really. And so it was really as simple as that. I was like, all right, I'm going to make brain food. I have no idea if people want it, but I'll learn pretty quickly.
Yeah. So talk about that. So you kind of see a category, the bar category, which, I think someone could look at that and say the bar category in general is a saturated market. You find a niche, right, that you could maybe kind of dive into. I think a lot of people who would have that idea would have backed away and not even kind of dove in, as you can, see so many bars in the market. What I want to talk about your courage to actually make the move to jump in to the market that some may have just never even launched into.
I think a lot of it comes down to risk and perceived risk. Most risk is fabricated and not real. But like, is it risky is the first question you have to answer. And objectively, it was not. So like, I was young, I didn't have debt, I didn't have kids, I didn't have dependents. I could cut my personal burn to close to zero. And what's the worst that could happen? I start this thing, it fails, and then I go get a better job because society values entrepreneurship. So effectively, the risk is zero. And when the risk is zero, it's just very hard not to do something if you want to do it. The next piece is, why do you think you can succeed in a saturated market? I mean, I'll take a saturated market where you don't have to manufacture demand 10 times out of 10 versus a unsaturated market where you might run into a demand problem. If you run into a demand problem, you're screwed. There's no way out. Whereas a saturated market, you simply have to outcompete incumbents. And I never want to be caught in a demand problem at all. And I'm always confident I can outperform people.
Yeah.
So I love big saturated competitive markets. And by the way, saturation waxes and wanes. So people go out of business. Like in the go-go days of all the way up to 2022, where venture capital was flowing and a zillion people were starting consumer good brands. Yeah, that was ultra saturated. Actually, it's becoming less saturated as every business idea is not getting a check written.
Yeah.
And I think people think there's a constant of saturation. It's actually not constant.
Yeah. I love that, because now I would imagine one strategy is, how do I then get market share from the demand that's out there? And so as you're looking at this category that you're saying, the brain and body nutrition, how did you tap into, talk a little bit about the messaging on what made your bar different?
And that was totally like iteration and listening to the market. So basically the original idea was brain food. And what we learned very quickly is no one wants brain food. It's kind of interesting. It's different. People care about the brain and the brain working better, but no one wants brain food per se. So then we're like, okay, what do they want out of this form factor? Well, they want low sugar, low carb, high protein. A large cohort wants plant protein, high fiber, like yada, yada, yada. They're all kind of diet based. And then they really like the brain angle as a rounding angle, as like a plus. It's like this plus. So I could get an RX bar, and it has all the stuff that an RX bar has, plus the brain, which is a really important distinction. It's like an order of operations. We hit X, Y, and Z plus this versus switch the order. This is brain food plus that. And that was a massive, massive breakthrough for us.
Yeah.
Meeting consumers where they were and then having this little kicker.
Yeah. Right. It's kind of the philosophy of like, get a medium coffee, you get a muffin half off, or everybody likes the bonus or the small little discount what comes at the end. That's great. That's really, really, really great insight. Talk about my son's in college right now, and one of the things I talk about is the power of networking in college. And so, having gone to Harvard, one of my son's best friends goes there as well. What from a business perspective, not to take away from their classes, but I want to talk about the classes versus what you learned from just the people that you met, right? And what was soaked up, in both elements of that.
Yeah. I mean, the classes are useless for the most part. unless you're doing technical stuff. So if you're learning engineering, mathematics, accounting, computer science, like all hard skills, all very useful. What I did was basically political science for the most part. I don't know. I'm sure there's use. You learn to learn, you learn to write, you learn to communicate, blah, blah, blah. But like hard skills wise, not useful. I think all of the value, at least for someone like me, who is like a liberal arts major, was the people, because the people you're surrounded with, like that thing really is true of the people you level up to the people you surround yourself with. And if you're just around smart people, ambitious people working hard, you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to be the one guy who's not doing that. And so it just kind of levels up everything, the conversations you have over lunch. You want to sound smart. You want to be at their level. And so it just keeps inching up and up and up. And then post-college, they all go on to do cool stuff. And you're trying to keep up with them there too. And you can call on them for help and vice versa. And so I do think the network is, look, I don't think no one's ever going to do anything for you, but it's like all the intangibles of leveling you up, maybe even without you noticing it, that moves the needle.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so as you graduated from, a top university in the country, what are 2 or 3 things that you wish you learned that you didn't?
I mean, I wish I learned more hard skills for sure. I have a very hard problem.
Such as what? What are some of those hard skills?
It would be cool to have better engineering know-how, whether that's software engineering or otherwise. The problem though, why I don't regret it per se, is I have a very big problem doing things I'm not interested in, inherently interested in. And I just was not inherently interested in. So what are you going to do? And you might say, well, the better you get at it, the more interesting it becomes. Fair enough. I don't know. That's like a chicken or egg problem, but there is no school for things. At least Harvard's not one of them. So how do you make a product and test the market and do this and that? That doesn't exist in college. Yeah. So would be cool to have more hard skills. Subsequently, I learned a lot of them, just basic stuff, Excel, etc. But, doesn't really exist.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that. All right. So let's talk about you. Your products are in 8,000 plus locations, CVS, Kroger, all major e-commerce platforms, Amazon, etc. What was it like? Take us back from the beginning when you started out your distribution to how you got it to where it is today.
Well, first of all, we started online with Kickstarter, which was an awesome way to start because we had no money. So it was selling pre-orders, which is a lot less expensive than selling real things. And we generated, I think it was 75 grand in pre-sales, and then another 15 grand on Indiegogo, which you basically copy and paste Kickstarter over. And so anyway, we sold $90,000 of stuff that didn't exist. We then took that, manufactured it, fulfilled that, and rolled out a website. And then X percent of those people started rebuying on our website. And then, you have a small business. And then started to turn on both organic content as well as paid advertising. So actually, right after the Kickstarter, I missed a key step. We raised money. We took that and said, hey, we're 2 months old. We sold $90,000 of product. That prorates to this. We think we're worth that. And we raised $500,000. And then, we rolled out the website, made one hire. I was a one-man band at that point, hired someone who was doing ops and finance while I was doing sales and marketing. Started selling on a site, layered on an Amazon presence, and that was like V1 of the business, which we built up to be pretty big, like $1 million business, fairly quickly online. So, and I'm glad we started online because we were able to iterate messaging, test messaging, even shift packaging a little bit. Then we had our first brick and mortar customer who I got into because I cold called the CVS buyer because I had a friend who had gotten something into CVS and CBS is kind of local to me. They're in Providence. I'm in Boston. So anyway, I call him, pitch the idea. We do a pilot with 6 stores. We do well in the pilot. And he says, all right, we want to put you in 3,000 stores. So within, I want to say it was like 6 months of selling our first unit, we went from producing 20,000 bars a clip to 200,000 bars a clip. And went from being in no locations to every city in America. Good and bad. Good and bad, though. That we got a lot of learnings from that, too, because we were in this terrible set in the back corner. Some product that's expired on shelf. The drug channel is very hard, et cetera, et cetera. So not all like rainbows and butterflies, but we started learning very quickly about brick and mortar and what is the right retailer channel, et cetera, over there. And effectively we started running 2 different businesses. An e-com CPG business is a fundamentally different business than brick and mortar. And so now you're moving two very different businesses at the same time. Yeah.
It's cool. Those are some great stories. I mean, congratulations on all your success, Will. You started this company when, 2017?
Jan 2018 was our Kickstarter.
2018. Okay. But 2018, what a great success story for the last 5-ish years. So congratulations on your success. Quick speed round. A book, a TED Talk, or an article that's had the biggest impact on you?
How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis is probably my favorite book of all time. He's just he's not like a course hawker necessarily, he's just a very real dude. He started Maxim magazine, made a ton of money, super hilarious writer. And he's just, the way he frames entrepreneurship, and it's just brilliant. So that got me more interested in entrepreneurship at an early age.
The Felix Dennis one you said?
Yeah.
I have that on my to read list, but I'm glad you read it up. I'm going to listen to it. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Get your personal house in order before you get your professional house in order. So you have to realize what you're signing up for personally, relationship wise, friendship wise. Are you going to go on vacation? What's your monthly burn rate? Before you have to get all of that in order to make the professional side work.
Yeah. Last question, finish this sentence. What's one thing everybody can do in college today to level up?
Start trying to sell something. Anything. Could be ads on a newsletter you spin up, could be a widget, whatever. Find some cheap way to create something and sell it, and take notes while you do it.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really important, taking notes. Will, thanks so much for taking time to be on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Think community, as you know, I'm a business coach. I work with successful people all over the globe who are stuck. I get them unstuck. I love this podcast because I get to have guests like Will on who share his story to hopefully work in conjunction with my mission to help you get unstuck. You shared a lot of great stuff today, Will. I love your story. Congratulations on all your success. I want to just extract one thing, which is don't be scared of markets that you may see as saturated. If you have a product that you believe in and you're passionate about, do your homework, do your research. But I love, Will, what you talked about, the demand already being there, and then just kind of, the work and the hustle it takes to kind of get that market share. So I appreciate that. Will, tell everybody where they can connect with you, buy your product, and all that other great stuff.
Sure. Yeah. If you go to eatiqbar.com, eatiqbar.com, that's our site. And we have a store locator, amazon.com. We're on Costco, Walmart. You'll find it on our website. And then at IQBAR are our handles. And then my name's Will Nitze, Nitze. Follow me on LinkedIn. I do daily posts there, and that's about it.
Great. Well, Will, thank you very much. Thank community. You can reach me at jondwoskin.com. And thanks again for sending me some stuff. Will, it was great. Love the bars and the drink mix too. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.